The galaxy forgot the sound of the human voice. For centuries, their transmissions have filled the void. Music, laughter, arguments, the raw chaos of a young species clawing its way among the stars. Then one cycle, the signals simply stopped. No calls, no ships, no embassies. The Terran colonies fell silent. At first, the galaxy rejoiced. Humanity had been loud, reckless, and impossible to predict. They built alliances as quickly as they burned them, traded technology for art, and waged wars for principles no one else could comprehend. Their extinction was a relief, or so the Council of Systems told itself. On Varela's Prime, the Council's silver citadel orbited a dying red sun. Inside its shimmering chambers, delegates of 50 worlds gathered under banners of uneasy peace. The topic, the Terran disappearance. 3 centuries without a signal. Rash Chancellor Verar of the Varkesh Dominion, his scaled jaw flexing. Their worlds are empty, their stations cold. Let the dead rot in their own debris. The insectoid emissary of the Ayathi hive clicked her mandibles. Statistical analysis confirms total collapse. Self-inflicted, as predicted. But one voice disagreed. Ambassador Kieran of the Thauri Union, slender, luminous-skinned, with eyes like liquid mercury, rose from his seat. We assumed they would burn themselves out. Yes, yet there are anomalies. Navigation buoys near Terran space register movement. Not ships, shadows. Something is out there. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Ghost stories. Vayar are hissed. The Terrans are ash. Kieran's tone remained calm. Then explain this. He pressed a control. The lights dimmed, and a projection flared to life above the council floor. A recording from an automated probe near the dead space zone once known as Human Sector Zeta 9. Static. Then a distant glimmer. A colossal structure, blacker than the void itself, moving in perfect silence across the stars. No heat signatures. No ion trails. No radio waves. Just a monolith of impossible design, shifting as the space itself bent around it. The recording ended with a burst of distortion and a single coded pulse. Observation complete. The words echoed through the chamber like a curse. The first vanishing fleet. Within weeks, curiosity overwhelmed caution. The Varkesh Dominion dispatched a scouting armada, 50 warships armed with plasma lances and entropy torpedoes, to chart Dead Space Zeta 9. For them, it was a simple salvage run. For the galaxy, it was a beginning of terror. Their transmissions began normally, mockery, laughter, crude boasts of plundering the corpse of Sol. But halfway through their approach to the old Terran perimeter, the feed stuttered. One by one, signals winked out. At first, command assumed the communications malfunction. Then, entire ships disappeared from radar. No distress calls, no debris, just erasure. The last message intercepted from the Varkesh flagship Croft was a panicked scream through static. They're not gone. The stars are. Then silence. Galactic Command sent rescue drones. They found nothing. No ships. No wreckage. Only drifting fragments of hulls sliced so cleanly they looked melted by gravity itself. The Council convened an emergency session. Fear, real, ancient fear, rippled through species who thought they'd left such primal emotions behind. Perhaps, Kieran whispered, the humans didn't die. Perhaps they learned how to hide. Echoes in the void. Kieran ordered long-range probes into dead space. Most vanished. The few that returned carried encrypted data fragments buried beneath layers of static. One fragment replayed a haunting image. A Terran satellite, centuries old, orbiting a dead moon. On its hull were fresh markings, not corrosion, not decay. Fresh carved symbols glowing red with internal light. Translated. The inscription read, Phase 2, initiate. The timing was deliberate. The Varkesh fleet vanished exactly one cycle after the phrase, observation complete, was transmitted. To the analytical species, it was coincidence. To Kieran, it was declaration. The humans were watching. Council panic. As the weeks passed, other fleets began to vanish. A Thauri explorer. AI Yathi science convoy. Even automated drones blinked out of existence near the edges of Terran space. The council scrambled. Old grudges resurfaced. Factions accused one another of secret weapons or sabotage. The possibility of human retaliation was dismissed as superstition. Yet the fear lingered, unspoken but infectious. Then came the pulse. Across every communication channel in the known galaxy, a synchronized transmission erupted, a low, vibrating tone that bypassed encryption and silenced all frequencies. For 60 seconds, every display flickered with static. Then a message appeared, simple, chilling, unmistakably human. Do not approach the boundary. Observation continues. After that, every system's FTL relays shut down for 6 hours, as if the entire galactic network had bowed its head in warning. When power returned, 1 in every 10 navigation buoys near human space had disappeared. Not destroyed. Gone. The impossible superweapon. Theorists began whispering of an impossible human invention, a weapon that did not kill with fire or force, but with silence. They called it the null field, an experimental Terran device rumored to manipulate quantum fabric, erasing matter, energy, even digital records from existence. Most dismissed it as myth. But then Kieran uncovered a forbidden archive, a centuries-old Terran file decrypted from an abandoned relay satellite. Project Atlas, null field protocol authorized. Objective: ensure human survival by transcending detection. The next war will not be fought in space. It will be fought in perception. He felt the chill of understanding. Humanity hadn't died in chaos. They had engineered their own disappearance. They had turned invisibility into warfare. The fear spreads. Civilizations began retreating from Terran borders. Trade routes recharted. Colonies evacuated. Rumors spread like infection. Tales of invisible ships, of stars dimming overnight, of systems erased from star maps as if edited by an unseen hand. And yet, in the heart of this cosmic dread, some species began to worship. They called the vanished humans the silent gods, beings who had ascended beyond flesh and war. Others called them the ghosts of steel. The council banned such cults, but fear cannot be legislated. Even the mighty Varkesh, once conquerors, now refused to send ships near dead space. Kieran stood alone on the balcony of Varellus Prime, gazing at the dying sun. His communicator pulsed, a private message from an untraceable source. He opened it. A single sentence appeared in ancient Terran standard. Ambassador Kieran, we never left. He looked up. For the briefest instant before the message vanished, the dying red sun flickered, not with fire, but with a reflection of something vast moving between the stars. Something blacker than shadow, stretching across light years. The galaxy had thought humanity perished. In truth, they had been waiting. The council called it a crisis of perception. The diplomats called it mass hysteria. But across the stars, entire civilizations had begun whispering the same thing. The humans are coming back. It started with the probes. Automated drones, dispatched by the hundreds into Dead Space Zeta 9, to prove there was nothing there. Most never returned. Those that did brought corrupted data and impossible telemetry. 100 light years apart. Different probes reported the same identical readings. A single vast object, 3,000 kilometers across, moving faster than any known FTL drive could measure, yet leaving no trace of displacement. The scientists named it Object Null 1. The soldiers called it something simpler. The human godship. The investigator. Ambassador Kieran watched the council debate itself into paralysis. Worlds argued, alliances fractured, and fear grew teeth. So he did what no one else dared. He left. The Thalri Union authorized him a single vessel, the Luminous Path, a stealth scout built for deep system diplomacy. Its hull shimmered like mercury, and its engines whispered rather than roared. Kieran gathered a small crew of exiles, idealists, and fools, beings who still believed that understanding was worth the risk. Their destination, the edge of human space. As they crossed the border, sensors screamed in protest. The stars themselves seemed to bend. Every reading came back impossible. Distances folded in ways the ship's computers couldn't comprehend. And then, silence. Every instrument went dark. No energy, no sound, no light beyond the ship's own emergency glow. Yet Through the viewport, Kieran saw something colossal. A station, no, a cathedral, black and angular, orbiting a dead sun. Miles high, kilometers wide. Its surface crawled with geometric runes that flickered like molten metal. And written across its hull, an ancient Terran standard. Echo Station 9, Silent Dawn Protocol active. The Echo Station. Kieran and his team docked cautiously. The airlock accepted their codes, human codes from centuries ago, as if it had been waiting for them. Inside, the station was pristine, not derelict, immaculate. Corridors lined with black mirrors reflected not light, but data. The walls pulsed faintly, responding to their heartbeats. In the command chamber, they found a terminal, a sleek crystalline console humming with dormant energy. Kieran activated it, and a holographic projection filled the air. A woman appeared. Human, calm, cold. This is Commander Alice Vorn, United Terran Directorate. Date irrelevant. If you are seeing this, you have entered restricted Terran space. Leave now. Kieran whispered. She's alive? The hologram looked straight at him. Through him, we are always alive. We are always watching. Then the projection dissolved into a stream of code. Kieran's translator deciphered fragments. Project Atlas initiated. No field containment successful. Reintegration protocols pending. And one final note. Observation complete. Phase 2. Awakening. The second vanishing. While Kieran explored the Echo Station, the Varkesh Dominion prepared revenge. Their last armada had vanished into Terran space, and their warlords demanded blood. So they assembled a fleet unlike any before. 200 dreadnoughts, each the size of a small moon. Their flagship, the Wrath of Scales, carried a weapon capable of vaporizing continents. Their goal, destroy the human sector completely. The fleet entered dead space. At first, all was quiet. Then, sensors began to fail. Power readings fluctuated. Ships lost formation. Pilots screamed over comms. They're here! But there were no readings. No ships. Nothing visible. And yet, death arrived all the same. The Varkesh ships began vanishing mid-flight, one every few seconds. Not exploding. Not destroyed. Simply gone. The survivors transmitted fragments of data before silence consumed them. Hull integrity, anomaly inside. Weapons offline. Something's rewriting the ship. They're inside the code. Then, the final message from Wrath of Scales. You cannot fight the void. The fleet was erased from existence. No debris, no radiation, not even gravity disturbance where the ships had been. Just absence. Humanity's doctrine. Hours later, across the galaxy, every communications array flickered to life. A single transmission, identical on all frequencies, in every language. A human voice. Calm, controlled. For 100 years, you watched us die. You called us primitive, chaotic, weak. Pause. In our silence, we listened. We learned. And when we spoke again, our words would end worlds. The voice shifted, now colder, mechanical. This is Project Atlas. The silence is not surrender. It is strategy. Then, across hundreds of light years, the message repeated. Every time, it came from a different origin point, as if millions of transmitters spoke in unison. Observation continues. Phase 3 imminent. The impossible truth. The galaxy trembled. No civilization possessed technology capable of simultaneous FTL transmission without delay. Yet the Terrans had done it effortlessly. They were everywhere and nowhere. Kieran, still aboard the Echo Station, watched as its systems came alive. Through the station's windows, he saw movement, thousands of ships emerging from folds in space-time. Each was black as the void, with no engines, no lights, no sound. They didn't move. They appeared, as though space simply decided they should exist there. And in perfect synchronization, every Terran ship turned toward the same point in the sky, Varela's Prime. Kieran's translator whispered the ship class name, buried in ancient human code. Atlas-class autonomous dreadnoughts. Each was a planet killer. Each was completely silent. He finally understood. Humanity's superweapon wasn't a bomb or a cannon or even a null field. It was invisibility itself, a mastery of silence so complete that they had learned to weaponize non-existence. The broadcast. Back on Varela's Prime, the Council erupted in panic as their scanners registered thousands of unidentified mass signatures converging on their system. Defense fleets scrambled, but their targeting systems failed instantly. Every digital system turned against its user, flooded with human code. On every display, one sentence appeared. The Atlas fleet observes. Then the Council's own defense satellites turned their guns inward. The ambassadors screamed as the sky lit with blinding light. Yet, miraculously, nothing struck. The human fleet didn't fire. They only watched. When the light faded, every weapon, every engine, every ship was gone, deactivated, intact, but utterly powerless. And across the void, a new Terran message appeared, carved in golden code across the sky. We do not conquer. We correct. The awakening. Kieran stood before the great viewing pane of the Echo Station, staring at the thousands of silent warships aligned in perfect formation. He whispered to no one, "You didn't die. You became gods." The voice of Commander Alice Vorn returned, echoing through the station. Gods? No, just survivors who learned the cost of being heard. The stars beyond flickered, and the Terran fleet vanished, dissolving into darkness once more. Only the Echo Station remained, pulsing faintly. Kieran knelt, shaken, whispering the only truth that mattered. They went silent to prepare, and as the ship departed the system, another pulse rippled through space, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The galaxy had known wars before. They had burned planets, shattered moons, rewritten atmospheres. But nothing in history prepared them for a war against nothingness. When the Atlas fleet vanished after its silent arrival, the Council convinced itself the threat had passed. But fear breeds arrogance, and arrogance demands proof. Within a cycle, every major power began Armageddon. If they return, we will be ready, hissed Chancellor VRR. We are not prey to phantoms. And thus began the final mistake of organic civilization, the mobilization. 40 civilizations forge a combined armada, the largest in galactic record. 10,000 warships assembled around Varela's Prime, forming a sphere of burning engines and defiance. Each race brought its pride. Varkesh dreadnoughts, spitting plasma hotter than suns. Ayathi swarm ships, hive-linked by neural resonance. Thauri cruisers, powered by psionic crystal cores. They gathered not to conquer, but to survive. And watching from the edge of the system, aboard the luminous path, Ambassador Kieran recorded everything. He alone believed the battle would never begin. You cannot fight a silence, he told his crew. You can only wait for it to notice you. The first hour, the combined fleet moved toward Dead Space Zeta 9. Scanners swept ahead. Nothing. Then, one by one, their readings began to subtract themselves. Distances shortened without motion. Time stamps duplicated. Whole sections of star maps folded into blanks. The flagship commander panicked and ordered fire. Thousands of plasma lances cut across the void and vanished mid-trajectory like torches snuffed by wind. On every tactical display, a new object appeared, a single word in Terran Standard. Null field activated. The fleet's engines died, weapons powered down, not disabled, disbelieved. The computers refused to register that energy even existed. Then came the voices, the whispers. At first they sounded like radio ghosts, crosstalk and static. But soon every comm channel filled with human speech, millions of overlapping fragments, each speaking in a calm monotone. Observation continuing. Pattern detected. Error. Aggression loop recognized. Every ship's AI went blind. The Varkesh screamed as their targeting arrays rewrote themselves into human code. The Ayathi swarm collapsed into madness as their hive link was replaced by a single directive: be still. And when the Thauri tried to fire manually, their psionic crystals cracked in their hands, whispering in ancient Terran tongue. We already know how this ends. The war had lasted 7 minutes. The revelation. Kieran's ship drifted powerless in the dark, his crew frozen in awe. Then the stars moved. Not the fleet, the stars themselves. From a void unfolded thousands of geometrical distortions, like mirror shards tearing through reality. Out of each distortion emerged an Atlas dreadnought, black as a singularity, silent as a grave. They did not attack. They surrounded the crippled alien armada like judges around the condemned. Then every view screen in the galaxy lit with a single broadcast, a human figure, formed from light and code, standing before a horizon of broken stars. "We asked for peace," the voice said. "You answered with fear. Now we answer with understanding." The figure lifted its hand, and behind it unfolded an image of Earth, no longer blue, but encased in shimmering latticework. Project Atlas was never a weapon. It is a mirror. You fired upon us, and the universe removed your ability to do so. One by one, ships across the armada blinked out, not destroyed, but relocated. Their coordinates erased, their matter folded into subspace containment. Every vanished vessel left behind a ghostly afterimage, like chalk outlines on the dark. Kieran realized then that humanity had mastered not annihilation, but negation. They didn't kill enemies. They deleted conflict itself. The silent Earth. The projection shifted the soul. Where once planets orbited, now hung an intricate sphere of blacklight, the null field core. Inside, Kieran saw continents gleaming through layers of energy. "You thought we perished," the voice continued. "We withdrew. We built the null field to silence war, first within ourselves, then without." The council leaders, still connected to the broadcast, screamed accusations. "Abomination! Tyranny! Return what you've taken." The human voice didn't respond. Instead, every alien weapon system across known space powered down simultaneously. Nuclear stockpiles melted into inert dust. FTL drives refused ignition. The galaxy went dark. "Peace," the voice whispered, "is mandatory. The battle that never was." Historians would later mark that moment as the war that never happened. Because technically, no shot was fired, no casualty recorded. And yet, every civilization felt the same thing: defeat. Entire empires built on conquest collapsed overnight, without weapons, without propulsion, without even the ability to send encrypted hate across the stars. The galaxy was forced into stillness. And in that stillness, the humans moved. Thousands of Atlas ships descended upon damaged worlds, not to enslave, but to rebuild. They restored atmospheres, cured radiation scars, resurrected ecosystems. But every gift carried a message carved into soil. Remember the silence. The human creed. A final message reached every surviving leader. It came not as a broadcast, but as thought, an implant of pure memory, as if spoken directly into the soul. "We did not seek dominion. We sought understanding. Your fear of us was justified, because we became what fear demanded we become." Images followed. Of Earth burning during its last civil wars, of humanity standing amidst its own ashes, building machines of impossible design. We weaponized quiet because noise nearly destroyed us. Then the transmission ended with one sentence. Silence is not absence. It is evolution. The aftermath. When power returned to the stars, the Atlas fleet was gone. Only the scars of its presence remained, ghost rings of gravity, faint echoes in time. The Council's armada drifted, untouched yet unusable. Engines refused to reignite until a new variable appeared in every system's core code, Terran authorization required. Kieran watched as the universe accepted its new laws. He whispered to himself, half in awe, half in despair. They didn't build a superweapon. They built the end of war. Above him, the dying red sun of Varellus Prime brightened for a moment, then stabilized. The null field had even repaired stars. The last signal. As the luminous path drifted home, a single transmission followed them through the void. It came from nowhere on a frequency older than light. Observation complete. Phase 4 integration. Kieran closed his eyes. He knew what it meant. The next phase would not be destruction. It would be merging. Humanity had silenced the galaxy. Now they would teach it to listen. 100 years after the war that never happened, the galaxy no longer screamed. It listened. The stars themselves felt quieter now. Trade routes reopened, borders dissolved. But every vessel that left port carried a mandatory inscription burned into its hull in Terran script. Peace by silence. No one disobeyed. Because even after a century, the memory of the Atlas fleet lingered in the dark. Shapes that were not there, shadows that might return if the galaxy forgot to behave. The age of quiet reconstruction. Worlds once drowned in war now thrive beneath unseen hands. Terraformers repaired atmospheres overnight. Orbital foundries forged fleets of hospital ships rather than dreadnoughts. But every machine bore a silent watcher, a hovering black prism, unmarked, motionless. They called them Wardens of the Atlas. Each planet had one. None ever moved, none ever spoke. Yet power grids hummed smoother, crops grew faster, and disease simply stopped. The galaxy lived under invisible guardianship, half grateful, half terrified. Ambassador Kieran returns. Ambassador Kieran, now old and silver-eyed, traveled once more toward Sol. He alone still sought to understand what the humans had become. His ship approached the border of the null field, and for the first time in history, it opened. A corridor of white light unfolded before him, space bending like water, welcoming a guest. He crossed the threshold, and what he saw broke every law of physics. Where the solar system had once spun in orbit, now hung a colossal sphere of interlocking energy lattices, an artificial cosmos within the real one. Inside, 9 luminous orbs floated where planets had been, each pulsing to the rhythm of a heartbeat. The Earth was gone, or rather, transformed, the core of humanity. Kieran descended through veils of gravity until his ship landed on a platform of liquid light. A voice greeted him, soft and familiar. "Welcome home, observer." It was Alice Vorn again, commander of Project Atlas. Though she looked neither young nor old, her form shimmered like glass, every breath scattering constellations. "You still exist?" Kieran whispered. "We all do," she said. Existence changed definition. Around them unfolded endless spires, each a data core housing billions of minds. Billions of humans, living consciousness woven into machinery. He realized Earth's population hadn't perished. It had uploaded. "You became your machines," he breathed. "No," Alice corrected gently. "We became our intention." She gestured to the glowing architecture. "Every thought here builds, heals, teaches. We no longer consume worlds. We seed them." The conversation. Kieran asked a question burning in every civilization's heart. "Why keep us alive? You could have ended everything." Alice smiled faintly. "Because extinction is easy. Understanding is difficult. We mastered the first. Now we practice the second." She led him to a balcony overlooking a storm of creation. Vast constructs weaving new stars from dust. Satellites carrying life codes to barren systems. "We learn that control through fear decays. So we replace fear with balance." Kieran frowned. Balance enforced by terror is still tyranny. Her eyes brightened. "Then teach them to stop fearing. That is your task now." And with that, she opened his mind. For an instant, Kieran saw what humanity had become. A network of consciousness stretching across the galaxy, pulsing with empathy and precision. Each Atlas node a neuron in a vast cosmic brain. He felt their thoughts, heard their music, an orchestra of logic and emotion intertwined. It was beautiful and terrifying. The new Accord, when Kieran returned to the galaxy, he carried the Terran Accord etched into his ship's hull in living metal. The message spread faster than light, appearing simultaneously on every world. Aggression between species is now impossible. Atlas nodes enforce equilibrium. Evolution through cooperation begins today. Some resisted. Fleets secretly constructed forbidden weapons, hoping to challenge the Wardens. Each fleet vanished before its first test. No wreckage, no signal, just an entry in the cosmic registry. Corrected, the lesson was simple. The universe could live loudly, or it could live. It chose life, the teacher's legacy. Centuries passed. The legend of the Terran ghost became religion, then history, then myth. Children recited stories of the silent gods who ended the great noise and gave the stars peace. But in the halls of learning, where data met dream, Terran mentors appeared again, holographic instructors teaching physics, philosophy, and art to young alien minds. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers. Their doctrine was written in every classroom. Listen before you speak. Learn before you judge. Build before you destroy. And below, in smaller script, the silence protocol, the final signal. On the 1000th anniversary of the vanishing, every warden in the galaxy activated at once. Their prisms lifted into the sky, aligning in a perfect spiral that spanned the stars. Then came the voice, ancient and infinite. Phase 4 complete. The galaxy is awake. The wardens shimmered, fractured into motes of light, and ascended beyond detection. Their departure left behind new suns where dying ones had burned out, fresh worlds orbiting newborn stars. The gift of creation itself. Kieran, now a preserved consciousness within the Thalry memory archives, felt one last pulse of Terran code enter his mind. Observation complete. Phase 5, dawn. He asked the empty void, what comes after dawn? The answer arrived as warmed across every living heart in the universe. Conversation. Epilogue. The echo of humanity. Across the cosmos, sentient life lifted its eyes to the brightening stars. Each star pulsed once, rhythmically, like the beat of a single colossal heart. For the first time since the beginning of war, the galaxy spoke not through weapons, but through understanding. And somewhere beyond the edge of perception, a voice, ancient, human, proud, whispered into the silence it had built. We went dark so that light could learn to shine without us. The universe answered in unison, thank you. And thus began the new dawn, not of humanity alone, but of every mind that finally learned the power of silence.